I broke my back.
What do you mean by that?
My back is broken.
What do you mean, calm it down? It's a fight. Referees telling two fighters who want to fight to calm it down? He should calm down.
So he's like a clown in his show, man. He's not your guy.
Because Tyson Fury's back, and all you motherfuckers are under attack. Look, Eddie Hearn can say all what he likes. Who gives a shit what Eddie Hearn says? It's garbage.
Are you off your tits? Have you been smoking something?
Can you let me retire and be happy? Please, just please.
Bombs away from the Bronx Bomber!
WADA! Let's go, baby! Let's go!
I'm through. They put somebody else up and give me an interview.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
You never give me a fair shake. HBO needs to fire you. You don't know shit about boxing. You ain't shit. You're not shit.
I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass.
I got drunk, man. Are you kidding?
No, you won the fight.
OMG, I am so excited.
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. Chimney. I want smoke.
Yes. What is up? What is up, MCR family? Another daily edition of the show live on YouTube. Smash a like button, share the show, subscribe. If you want to call in, 323-870-4051. Press 1 to get in the queue. If you're international, email me, mixedcombatradio@gmail.com to get a free international and permanent call-in link. Obviously, I'm Matt, the Hipster Hunter. And obviously, today's topics, Eddie Hearn going on and on about how he can make Deontay Wilder a star, you know.
I'm gonna make you a star, motherfucker.
And, you know, it is what it is. Obviously, we have to talk about it. It is AJ Wilder news, sort of, or at least headlines, so we have to discuss it. Chris Eubank Jr. versus James DeGale is finally official on ITV box office.
Say what?
Yes, I know. I know a lot of UK fans are probably not going to be too happy about that being with the box office tag and it being pay-per-view, but I actually like the fight, so I can't wait to talk about it. Plus, Mikey Garcia versus Errol Spence being under VADA testing. Josh Warrington versus Kid Galahad being sort of rumored and talked about, something. I don't know. Tons of topics to get to. It's all on my topic list in order. We're going to get to it all. But of course, I'm joined by my special co-host, the one and only Mr. Eddie Hearn's second cousin, twice removed, Robbie Hearns. How you doing?
All good. Yeah. Seems to be a lot of people enjoying the video intro. Looking slick. One of the bells and whistles added.
Shout out to Robbie Hearn, a.k.a. the super producer.
Yeah. Took me long enough. And then I sent what I thought was the final one, and I forgot to put a space between the that thumbs. Hit that thumbs great. Up. It was like that thumbs. But, so yeah, back in and editing that and that. But no, it was good. I thought it looked, I had it here on my screen as well. Thought it looked pretty cool. So, yeah, just something new, more to come. But, yeah, topics. I mean, Wilder ignoring offers or contact, you know. I think we all knew that's probably the case. But I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot of speculation now. Will it actually be the Fury and Wilder rematch? Will that happen? Or, you know, we've got Ben Davison talking about Wilder should fight Joshua next and things like that. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, DeGale, Eubank pay-per-view. Oh, man. But, yeah, we're just moving on. Very much so. But, yeah, we can, you know, obviously chop it up together. So if you want to start.
Well, obviously, let's get to Eddie Hearn's quotes from, I forget the exact radio show it is, by way of Boxing Scene. That's how we are getting the quotes. Love Sports Radio, the Brian Moore Show. I don't know what that is. Rob, do you know what that is?
Yeah, Brian Moore, he's former England rugby player, but yeah, I think that's him.
Okay.
But, he's been on the radio and like TV commentary and things like that, so got a career outside of the sport.
Well, let's get to the quote from Eddie Hearn himself. We would desperately love to fight Deontay Wilder in Wembley on April 13th. We have offered him successfully more and more, not just guarantee money, but percentage money. It will generate many times more than he has ever earned in his life, but there's a certain level beyond which we won't go because AJ is the A-side. Unfortunately, I have to report that so far, despite 3, 4 emails, dozens of phone calls, we haven't had one response from Deontay Wilder. So sooner or later, you take the hint and that maybe they don't want us that bad. But then they're also, I guess, planning a Tyson Fury rematch. So I love like the little caveat at the end Eddie threw out. That is like the obvious reason why Wilder's team isn't responding to these emails and phone calls. Now, of course, do I think that you can have better business practices and at least send a, hey, we're not interested in the fight right now. We're going for the rematch with Tyson, then refight you. Of course, I mean, that's obvious. But let's be honest here. And you, if you listen to the show for any period of time, I know we gained a lot of subscribers. Of course, shout out to Sporting Icons that probably aren't used to maybe my rhetoric or my points about this whole matchup right now at this point. It deserves zero mentioning. I'm only mentioning it right now because I know half of our listeners are from the UK. And I know that they are deeply invested in this whole narrative by Eddie Hearn about how Wilder is ignoring them, doesn't want to fight. Wilder has unfinished business with Tyson Fury. That was a draw. I scored it a draw. I can see him losing that fight. He needs to, have that one back before he goes and fights AJ, in my opinion. Same with Tyson Fury. I think if AJ were to fight either guy before that rematch was to happen, it would actually do a disservice to that fight. Like, we wouldn't look at Wilder, AJ the same with Wilder coming off this draw, or if we have Wilder coming off a win against Fury in a rematch. It would just seem diametrically different in terms of perception. So, I understand Eddie's points. I understand it's all PR narratives, and I love it because it is upsetting fans. It is polarizing in a way. Eddie's great at that. He's the greatest promoter in the game right now. That's just a fact. But he added that caveat at the end because it's true. Like, they're not responding because they're planning a Tyson Fury rematch, which is completely acceptable.
It is, but like I say, just. But
I'm waiting for the spin.
No, but I just feel that you could just reply, look, we're working on things. If we can't get that, what time, what kind of, obviously you've got to set something up for Joshua. What time frame are we looking at for us to maybe make the Fury fight as a fallback? If we can't get it, we can deal with you and Joshua. But I don't know. I just feel like he's been on other shows. It's been out there that it doesn't matter what money or what the offer is, he won't fight Joshua next. So that's probably why they're not responding. They've said it in the public, and they feel a certain way about Eddie. I know Shelley said, I've got a good relationship, despite what everyone thinks. We've got a good relationship with Eddie. We can talk, we can be cordial or whatever. I know Eddie's out there doing the Shirley Winkle stuff and this, that, and the other. I mean, maybe there's a delay because Finkel always seems to say he sent a letter. I don't know why he's sending letters. It's fucking 2019.
But no, he's definitely one of those old people that says like outdated terms for new technology. Like, like when the old person says like emails for text messages. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that shit annoys me so much. So I Shirley is definitely talking about emails, but calling them letters, right?
Shirley? You said Shirley. Eddie's got to everyone. I've heard so many people say Shirley. Shirley.
It's like Eddie Hearns. Like, it's the fact that, that has been talked. We just call him Hearns so much that once in a while I'll slip out an extra S at the end,
Yeah, I mean, but that's a surname with an S on the end that could be male or female. But he's kind of saying Shirley Winkle. He's changing all. There's difference. But I don't know. I just feel, for me, I think the right play is the Joshua fight for Wilder, because I think the Fury fight is always there. And it's then, say Wilder beats Joshua, it's the undisputed champion versus the lineal champion. This is for like the definitive #1 spot in the heavyweight heavyweight rankings and things like that. But like you said, Eddie's put it out there that we've tried, we can't even get a reply. We can't get this. Phone calls, numerous phone calls, emails, nothing. Maybe that I guess they just don't want the fight. But maybe they're working on the Wilder Fury rematch. Just like you say, throw that out there.
It's a great spin. Again, I'm not hating it. I'm just calling it as it is. It's a spin, and that's fine. That's what promoters do. Like when Bob Arum goes out there and says Al Heyman's not a real person, like that's of course hilariously wrong. Like that's not true. That's promoter talk. So I just take it for a grain of salt. On top of that, though, to sort of add another angle to why Wilder is not really going after an AJ fight right now, I think most people are expecting the rematch with Fury to do better numbers, both in gate and pay-per-view buys in the U.S. Because now...
But here's the thing. I don't think it's going to happen because you've just said it, the rematch in the US. But I think Fury, and they want the rematch here. I came to your backyard. We got to come to my back. I think there's going to be sticking points all over this negotiating this rematch. And honestly, I think Wilder is going to fight. And honestly, I feel Wilder is going to end up fighting Brazil. He's actually going to face a mandatory, which will be, new. And I think we'll wait and see on AJ's opponent, although it's looking like White, and we went over this. White is probably the most deserving heavyweight out there to get the title shot.
I would hate to live in the world that you just spelled out, that we have.
I know.
That would be awful. And it would be one that definitely deserves criticism. I don't think that ultimately happens. I think Fury will probably, at the end of the day, have no issue going back to the U.S. Again, I know that's not what he said publicly. This is just speculation. It's purely just me talking right now. I think at the end of the day, when they come back and say, look, the first one did around 325,000 pay-per-view buys. You made around $8 million allegedly. The next one's going to do at least above 500,000 pay-per-view buys in the U.S., in my opinion. It's now perceived as a legitimate fight. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not just perceived as a loud-talking Brit that's on the comeback who beat someone a couple years ago but is infamously overweight right now. Now it's, Fury's a legit top 3 heavyweight. He might be better than all of them. Wilder might have lost that fight. Oh, shit, they're rematching. I think it's just different. And again, my greater point is that Wilder in his mind's thinking, why would I fight AJ right now? And again, for whatever percentage Eddie's offering, off of the new offer, off of obviously the Fury fight doing well or doing decently well, when the Fury rematch is going to do even better, and I can go back to Eddie and get even more, even if it's extra 3%, 5%, whatever it is. That's another $3, $4, $5 million in his pocket at least. So I think there is probably some business savvy going on or some business decisions going on about how, hey, look, AJ's there. We know we can make the fight right now. Eddie's offering us deals, but we want a better deal. That's all. That's what this entire situation has been about. Has been about the split. Has been about Wilder wanting a perceived fair split. And a Fury rematch gets him to a better, fairer split.
I hear you, but I mean, when we break down what Wilder potentially made from the Fury fight, we know he got a 4 million flat fee, purse, and then whatever percentage it would be of pay-per-view sales. Now we know 250,000 was the break-even point, right? Apparently, according to Espinoza. Mm-hmm. So that leaves 70,000 if it did 320 or whatever final thing was. So that's a split of the 70 or 75,000.
That's not really how it works.
Yeah, but did he make 15 million? Like the initial?
I don't think he probably made just under that. Again, you have to work what Tyson Fury said. Tyson Fury said he got 8 million, right? And his reported guarantee purse for the commission was 3 million. So you do the percentage of the 3 million and the extra 5 million on top of that. To do that same percentage for the 4 million for Wilder gets him around, I think from what I remember doing, it was like 13 something million. And you can you add in maybe international and TV rights. You get to slip a piece of that. He's making around $15 million probably, or just around that easily. Yeah.
Seemed a lot of hard work.
And again, with that break-even point, I know you come back to that several times. That's not, again, how that works exactly. So when they hit that threshold, right, let's say the 250, right, that threshold, from my understanding, especially from UFC contracts for the big fighters, and Wilder probably has a similar contract because he's a big fighter, so big fighters get similar contracts. They will make, after that, with that 250, including all of the 250 below that and more, their revenue split kicks in, so to speak. So then they get, let's say, $1 off of every buy, whatever it is, whatever the number is. For UFC fighters, it's very low. It's like $1, $2, $3 maybe. Boxers, notoriously, it's a lot more, $10, $15, $20 per buy. I think Mayweather at one time was rumored to get like almost half of every buy, basically. Each fighter can sort of get a different contract. But again, Wilder made good money with that fight. And in the rematch, he's making better money. And that's all about gaining leverage. That's all what it is. It's about gaining leverage in the AJ negotiation.
I just feel it was a hell of a lot of hard work to face a guy with no bouts when he was offered 15 million anyway for an undisputed fight. It just seemed, I don't know. It seemed a lot of effort went into getting that 15-ish million that we think he maybe made from this.
Well, again, it wasn't supposed to be that much effort. Like, we've talked about this before. It's only effort in hindsight, right? It's only effort now that it was a close, competitive, fun fight. Beforehand,
I get you, but
beforehand they were thinking, oh, it's an easy fight. Tyson Fury's undefeated. He beat Klitschko first. He has the lineal championship in a way. That's a storyline. That's a narrative we can spin. Talking about spinning narratives. And it just, I say backfired on them, but it did. It did backfire on them. It turned out Tyson Fury was legit, back at the top. There's a reason why Tyson Fury's comeback story might win MCR's comeback story of the year on our awards show this Friday. Just saying. Tune in for that one, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, and what is that, 9 p.m. Great Britain time?
What was it, Eastern?
4. It's the time is this show.
9.
9. So 9 o'clock UK time, MCR award show Friday. God, can't wait for that. But yes, the voting is closed. I do apologize, but the votes are in, tallies are in. Patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio. Got a chance to vote. But anyways, digressing. Rob, anything else we need to touch on with this fight that's obviously not happening next and not happening possibly next year?
No, I don't think so. I've just seen so much on Twitter that Dillian White doesn't deserve the shot. It's just been an ongoing thing, and it's really getting on my nerves because people are saying he's already fought Joshua. I was like, yeah, for a British title. Since that loss, he's done probably definitely more than any other heavyweight to get that AJ shot, and it's really getting on my nerves.
Well, What was it? Was it yesterday on our new Patreon show, Boxing Banter, #episode 1, where Gary called in and said all heavyweights are shit? Was that the?
It was 1 or 2 days ago. Yeah.
Anyways, well, we talked about this with Gary in Dallas. Gary in the chat right now. What up, Gary? He's
never lived that down.
And look, I think he actually is probably more of the consensus, to be honest. Hey, look, those top 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 heavyweights are really good. Everyone else, shit. Right? Everyone else is trash. Everyone else is a bum, right? And even though I think that's completely wrong, I think that's again does a disservice to the division. But that's been a narrative not just for White or a Luis Ortiz or Povetkin or Gerald Miller. It's been a narrative for that division now for going on 20 years. Like, let's be honest here. Like, it's I think there's a lot of fans that still aren't aware that this division is as good as it is, right? Like, that this division right now is the 3rd best heavyweight era, arguably, in history. Some people aren't aware of that yet. Like, they're still, like, in the Klitschko hangover. We're like, oh, yeah, Pulev, shit, yeah, whatever. And I think, again, people are not necessarily awake or woke, so to speak, about how good this heavyweight division is. Because Dylan White's good. Sorry, I know that I was rambling, but Dylan White's a fantastic fucking heavyweight who absolutely deserves an AJ rematch. And to say he doesn't is ridiculous.
Yeah, totally agree. And I did see, I think it was Mike Coppinger put out a poll, who will be in 2019 looking to become the next big star? And there was options of Crawford.
Well, it was the next U.S. stars, I want to say.
Yeah, U.S. star. Crawford, Spence, was it Mikey maybe? And then, or other, to which Adam Kalnacki.
Yes, I saw that.
And he put Adam Kalnacki. And I thought, all right, mate. Pump the brakes just a wee bit. You know, I don't want to come in here, you know, maybe on the Gary score system, Kalnacki, I don't know, give him a 5.5. I'm not going to go as low as, you know, the 2s and the 1s, but
don't say that. You give me so much shit for calling fights trash and shit. And now you're gonna say Adam Ranaki, who's like probably the nicest guy in the entire sport, right? And
I'm not knocking the guy as far as whether he's a nice guy or not. I just think, compared to what's above him in the heavyweight rankings, you're going to have to maybe score him like a 5 or maybe a 6. I'll give him a 6. But is he the next US
I'm
star?
Not going. I'm not going.
Is the next US star, Matt? Look me in the eyes through this camera and tell me yes. I dare you.
No, he is not the next US star. And I would argue that none of the guys listed are the next US star. But that's just my maybe very controversial point that none of the guys that we have right now could be the next pay-per-view star.
No, there isn't a next US star as far as I can see just yet. I don't know. I just don't think boxers are going to be stars in the US.
Similar to how we have redefined like what's successful on pay-per-view in the recent, 3 or 4 years. And not just with Wilder. I know that some UK fans are going to get their pitchforks out when I say that. It's for across the board, like UFC, all boxing, like combat sports overall. Like, again, the standard of successful has dropped. I think the standard of stardom is going to have to be redefined, and especially in the streaming age. Like, that's going to be the next sort of weird dynamic when we don't have any idea how many people are watching Canelo Alvarez or are going to watch Triple G maybe. Like, there are some people that we just aren't really going to have an idea about. And then we're going to see the Jamal Charlo fight against Korobov, which was just turned out to be a much better fight than what it was on paper. But that breaking, 1.8 million average viewers, that it's just a weird era right now where I think, again, redefining stardom is going to be a thing we have to do at some point.
Yeah, definitely. Boxing in the US just isn't number one. That's just, plain as day. Your football players, your American football players or whatever, but basketball players, they're the stars.
Yes.
You can see it on, if LeBron James tweets, it's got X amount of retweets, it's got X amount of likes. Errol Spence might hit 20 retweets, or maybe if it's a little bit more. And this is with the great state of Dallas, the Cowboys,
the great state of Dallas.
All right, Texas. All right, but
that's just funny because of our pre-show conversation that we don't actually address on. But that's really funny. I hope you know.
But Dallas is very close to Texas.
It's in Texas, so yeah, it is. It is very close.
Whereas Manchester isn't in London. But
brief tangent, because we don't have any callers right now. It's not like we have in a rush. We don't have a ton of topics. Who do you think is sort of the next UK star, like the next person to be close to AJ's level? Maybe not at that level because AJ's reached a stratosphere that maybe only like guys like Ricky Hatton have reached, right? But who's the next sort of guy to hit some sort of stardom in the UK in your mind?
Obviously, Dillian White's already doing. The last 2 fights have been pay-per-views, and I think the first one, some Sporting Icons is in the chat. He'll tell me, but I think around 400,000 buys against Parker or something like that. Maybe
it did very well. Yeah,
and that's someone underneath the Joshua that's hitting around the millions each time and things like that. So I think Dillian White. Who else could be? I just think. Fucking Dave Allen's getting a hell of a. I'm not saying he's going to be a pay-per-view star, but he's on virtually.
I gotta stop you because you just said Dave Allen, so I'm gonna go to the chat because they at least brought up a name that I think we can discuss. First, Sporting Icons saying next UK star, Sporting Icons. I love that. That's funny Good one.
Yeah.
Well, air horns for you. That was a good joke. But Ellie and potential lunatics named Buatsi, I don't see it. I think a lot of hardcores like Buatsi. I don't see like that stardom. Maybe he gets the AJ sort of stoic stardom lane down, but I feel like AJ has that lane. I don't know.
He's a light heavyweight that isn't particularly. I wouldn't say he's like he's got the personality at the moment to, he says some cool shit and stuff like that, but he's not.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Huh?
I don't see it.
No, I necessarily don't. I mean, if he wins a world title, he will get a following and he will do well in the UK because we will have another world champion. But on that AJ level or the Dillian, what is he going to come out? Is a light heavyweight fight in the UK going to dominate?
Like, is he the next? Is he the next Carl Froch? I don't think so. In terms of stardom, I don't see it yet. Talent is a different discussion. I'm talking purely stardom here for people listening, right?
Yeah, it's tricky. But like, you straight away clown me for Dave Allen, but he has got almost like a cult. Nah, stop it. He's got like a cult following. He's got, and he's on. They call him. He's on loads of pay-per-views. I can't remember the amount. Virtually his last however many fights, I think 90% of them have been on a pay-per-view. And why is that? Because he's becoming a draw. People. Early in the card, Alan comes on. That card, the crowd fills out a bit. He's got good support. Like I say, I'm not saying he's going to hit the Joshua numbers. He's not going to be the next pay-per-view star because he hasn't got the ability to reach those elite levels. But he's always going to be a tough guy in good fights, and he's always going to try and knock someone out, and that's why people like him. So,
yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with a lot of what you said. I just don't think like Dave Allen's ever going to be like a Dylan White level, right? Like he's
no.
He's never going to headline pay-per-views, right? Like that's what we're talking about.
All right, okay. Obviously Anthony Fowler. I know Sporting Icons is in there with his Ted Cheeseman flag. No,
Josh Warrington, my man.
Yeah. Look, he's maybe he's just potentially on the wrong network to be that big UK star. So, but he's obviously since the Selby win, and now Frampton, a big name on the back of it, he's getting a lot more notoriety and a lot more, well known than he has, obviously in his whole career coming up. World champion, good defense against Frampton in a real great fight. But he's just unfortunately, I think, on the wrong network to get that, real big superstardom. But we got plenty. It's just too many to name.
A few people in the chat saying, "Do I still do shows with TBV?" No, I do not. Exclusively MCR net.
I want smoke.
Anyways, digressing. I accidentally deleted the topic, not the topic, but like the article of James DeGale, Chris Eubank. I can't really like transition to it. But transition. Not Callum Smith. Whoa. What am I thinking here?
You do need the article.
I do need the article, obviously. I'm just thinking Callum Smith would whoop both these guys easily, so why are we even talking about James DeGale and Chris Eubank Jr.? But anyways, Chris Eubank Jr. versus James DeGale in a pay-per-view fight. Again, I like the fight itself. Like, I think the fight is an even matchup. It makes sense for both guys going forward. Chris Eubank coming off a really depressing loss to George Groves. Has he even had a comeback fight since then? Has he had a in-between fight? Or is he coming straight off the loss? Can you look that up for me very quickly? And obviously James DeGale has looked nothing but like poor since the Badou Jack fight, to put it lightly. Like the Caleb Truax fight was, it's just, I don't know what sort of version we have of James DeGale heading into this. If this was a prime James DeGale, the one that beat Andre Durrell, I absolutely would think he beats Chris Eubank, right? Like, I absolutely think he outboxes him. I think it would be an easy fight, relatively speaking, but it's not. It's 2019. Chris Eubank Jr. still is a scrappy enough guy to make it a fair or close fight, I should say. James DeGale doesn't have his athleticism or, sort of quickness to rely on. He's much slower. He seems like a shot fighter. I don't know. Again, and this is pay-per-view. For U.S. viewers, I don't know how it's going to be viewed over here yet. I haven't really understood that since it's a PBC event on ITV. I don't know if we're going to get it on Fox Sports 1 or maybe Fox Sports Go as some sort of streaming service or a PBC YouTube. I don't know. Like, that's just a thing that we have yet to sort of figure out. Maybe Showtime picks it up in the U.S. Maybe Showtime YouTube does. No idea. Hopefully, I don't have to pay for it or watch it in an illegal stream. But fun fight, even fight. Too bad you guys have to pay for it in the UK. Sorry. So,
let me just break this down, right? So, yeah, you guys are probably going to end up paying $75 for Manny Pacquiao and Broner, right?
Yes.
We're getting that for free on ITV1. You're going to get James DeGale and Eubank Jr. potentially for free. We're going to pay. I think previous pay-per-views are going to be like £10, so it's going to be like what, $14, maybe $13.
Nah, it's going to be like 25. Watch.
If that shit's 25, no fuckers paying for it. You might get some if it's 10 quid. You might. All I've seen is like.
So you don't think he does like 100,000 buys?
No, I don't know. If it's
time. Hold on. Good question here. Does it do better than Frampton Warrington? See, that's a good question.
What did it do?
We don't know. Speculation. Just
no, I wouldn't. I don't know, because that went up against the Sky Sports pay-per-view as well, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
I don't know. I'm not paying for it, but I paid for Warrington Frampton.
We did see Warrington eat like Pizza Hut for Christmas. I'm not saying like Pizza Hut isn't good for Christmas food. Like, do what you want. But homie was coming off a pay-per-view and was eating pizza from Pizza Hut in the UK for Christmas.
Someone put a comment on that post saying, not Papa John's or Domino's. Shit, it must have done bad pay-per-view.
Yeah, I saw the
I thought that was a great one.
Yes.
But like I say, I paid for Warrington Frampton. I'm not paying for DeGale, Eubank Jr. All right, so that's a customer survey of 1, and that suggests where my money.
But have you heard who's going to be on the undercard potentially?
Possibly Joyce and possibly Lee Selby.
I think that's a good undercard. I'll be honest. Like, depending on the matchups, like that's a good little triple header. Depending if you can, of course, what else they put on, who they fight. But it's not bad. I've seen worse.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but the main event is the main event. I think it's going to be a fun fight, but who wins? Oh, fuck, I don't know.
Okay, hold on. Another good question, because I'm in that silly mood, right? You can tell today, right? What is a worse start for PBC? Starting their Fox deal with the Charlo brother doubleheader against people that we don't care about and fights that they arguably both lost, or PBC starting their ITV deal with a pay-per-view with a fighter that's shot and a fighter that people really are upset with nowadays with Chris Eubank.
Which is worse?
Yeah, what's the worst start?
The UK one, I think, because they've really missed the trick. This should have been primetime ITV1. Welcome to PBC on ITV. James DeGale versus Chris Eubank. But I guess DeGale left for apparently the money fights. That's why he vacated the IBF to go for money fights that get you the IBO. So yeah, it's about money. So can they guarantee the money? Although it's coming from PBC, so I guess we know they've got a lot of money. But
it's coming from ITV. Like, that's how they would theoretically afford the budgets for fighter purses, etc. for ITV cards would be through the ITV money through their TV deal.
I guess. So for me, this is a big mistake because I don't see a lot of people buying this, even if it is £10 or whatever it's going to be. But very quickly, the press conference was a complete and utter shambles, and I'll tell you a few reasons. First of all, with 22 minutes remaining before they went live, I jumped in the live chat instantly. You know when you're waiting to see it, it says like on our show there was the overlay and the you got the thumbnail there of it was our topics. The background of the ITV one was the World Boxing Super Series Muhammad Ali Trophy. So I went, oh, so PBC's debut on ITV, and they've got some DAZN content in the backdrop. And then the live stream was removed. And when it came back, it had ITV box office backdrop. So I was like, oh, shit. Was that me? I'm sorry. People were in the chat waiting. When does it start? And I'm like, come on, press conferences never start on time. But I'm like, oh, shit. And then it came back on and they changed the backdrop before it went live. I was like, the power of the chat, So, yeah. And then they brought the fighters out for a face-off before they sat down. Every reporter in the building was stood in front of the camera, so we didn't see the face-off originally. And then the mic, the sound everything was shit. Everyone in the chat was like, "Can you turn it up?" I can hear it in my left headphone, but not my right headphone, and it was shit. It was really shit. But
and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. ITV is a massive free-to-air channel, right, over there in the UK, right? It's pretty big. They have the resources to put on good production, right? Like, am I wrong here?
Yeah, exactly. This is it. It's just like Sky have got it, but sometimes the Matchroom go live with their press conferences, and it's all shit. You think you got the power of Sky behind you, yet your press. I don't know. Sometimes the live feeds of these presses, it all seems so low budget,
And I mean, the same thing happened like the Fox presser. Like that one was just atrocious. I forget what's his name, the smaller, older white gentleman that was with Lennox. He was the worst MC I've ever seen for any event in my life. Oh my god! And they found the smallest fucking room to put this press conference in. The only one that's really done it right recently, like for like those big press conferences, was honestly the Showtime one from last year. Like that was a pretty good one. There was some nitpicks. I wish there was more maybe media questions. Charlamagne the God was a little bit extra. Like
the Showtime like schedule, the rollout.
Yeah,
thing.
When they did like the first 6 months of 2017, like that was actually like good production. Like that seemed big.
But that probably had a little bit more of a budget because it had all the fighters there. I don't know. It was like their big look what's coming kind of thing. So
yeah, but the Fox one was supposed to be that, for example, right? Yeah. And that was in literally like a room this big as like my studio, right? Like I swear, like I don't know how they fit all those people in that room. It was so small. I don't know how they fit the cameras in. Like it was it was smaller than probably any room in my house or your house, Rob. That's how small of a room they funneled all the PBC fighters in. Anyways, digressing. I don't know how we got on that topic. Chris Eubank, James DeGale, the
Me taking down the ITV stream.
Yeah, the dumpster fire that is that being a pay-per-view. I really have nothing else to say about it. I like the fight itself. I know people are going to hate on it because it is pay-per-view. But similar to a Pacquiao-Broner fight. Like, I love that fight. Like I really do like that fight, even though I think Pacquiao whoops his ass. I love that fight. I hate that's pay-per-view. Like I hate that I have to pay $75 to watch that. And I can't bill MCR for, that expense because I am MCR, so that just sucks, right? Damn it. Anyways, digressing from that.
Just act out a little transaction with yourself. Oh, there's the receipt. Oh, thank you very much. Here's the
that would be fun.
The content is fine.
Speaking of things that aren't fun, this whole waiting for Triple G shit. Like I gotta admit, like I'm getting kind of bored with it. Mike Coppinger coming out and saying here Triple G is waiting until the birth of his child to make a decision on a new network home. So we should have clarity this month. Again, this is a month after we were told December was going to be the month before Christmas. He and his wife are steering his career now, a.k.a. Tom Lawfer is gone. Bye-bye, Tommy.
Wait. It's just the way you phrased that before you said has gone. You were like, Triple G and his wife, a.k.a. Tom Lawfer.
I didn't say it like that. I said he and his wife are steering his career now, a.k.a.
Tom Lawfer.
Bye-bye, Tommy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But it's just a.k.a. his wife is Tom. I wonder who wears the pants.
Anyways, digressing. Shut the fuck up. God damn it. Triple G will decide between PBC, DAZN, and ESPN. Rob, do we care? B, do we care?
I mean, let me just check Coppinger's feed because her waters might have broken, so we might get some breaking news, true MCR style. But
hold on, time. You know when Gary gets very upset at Thurman for the whole oh, this is my get back year, and he said it every year. I get it now.
Yeah,
I get it. Dude, it's not that hard. Are the offers changing? Really? The first deadline was Christmas, right? So you're telling me the day after Christmas, you can't decide then, right? Okay, no, you change your mind. You can decide after that. Now it's, the birth of my child. Why can't you decide right now? What's the holdup? It's honestly, is it just because, we don't want to deal with it? That's fine. Maybe they've obviously made a ton of money in the last 2 fights against Canelo and Vance Martirosyan. So he's good for a bit. It's not like he's in a rush to get paid, but I'm in a rush to find out what's happening. As just a fan of the sport, putting my fan hat on now, I want to know what happens for Triple G. I want to know what's the next season of the Triple G storyline. I want to know if it's going to be on DAZN, if it's going to be on PBC, if it's going to be on ESPN. All of those have massive consequences, or not negative consequences, just consequences for that decision. And as a viewing fan and a consumer of all of those entities, I want to know.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if it's DAZN, we're like, okay, we're looking at Canelo trilogy, or Daniel Jacobs maybe, or you know what I mean. We know where we stand. If it's ESPN, we know he's ducking that work, and if it's PBC, we know he's ducking that work. So it is what it is. So, yeah, why we have to wait? But I literally don't think he cares. You got your fan hat on. He's obviously having a wonderful Christmas and New Year's sort of holidays, and I'm sure he's going to make a hell of a lot of money wherever he does go. So yeah, we just have to wait. But yeah, it just seems a little odd. We're going to hear before Christmas. Now I don't know, but I'm sure.
I'm not really mad at Triple G. I know I got a little animated, but it's come on, man. It's going to be 2 months now of just not knowing. And this is on top of, again, the awful PR narratives that your boy Tommy was giving out there about, VADA testing and all the lies are put out. You need to sort of come back, in my opinion. And just from a pure media perspective, he needs to come back and sort of switch up some of these narratives that are out there about how, hey, you came out really hard against Canelo post-fight about him not being a VADA program. VADA then came out and checked your ass and said, no, Canelo's still in the program. You have left. And we haven't heard from Triple G or Tom about any of that or any of their own business dealings since then. It's always been, you're going to hear about it next month. You're going to hear from us next month. It's always next month. And it's just come on, step it up. You are a top, 5-star in the sport if you're Triple G. He's still a pound-for-pound talent. It's just come on, hurry it up. It's not that hard. You've had these same deals for months now. They aren't changing. But moving on, unless you have anything else to say.
No, like I say, it's just be interesting as to which one it is, because like you say, then we know kind of what we're getting from 2019's future fights. It's going to be either him trying to get bouts back, or he's going after, I don't know what, Rob Brandt for a regular bout, or
big paycheck, something.
Yeah. So yeah, but
honestly, that's the only reason why he doesn't go toward the DAZN, right? Because DAZN has the belts right now.
And the money, though. Apparently, that was the biggest offer on the table at that time. DAZN had tabled the biggest offer that they knew of.
True, you're right. I forgot about that part.
The bag and belts.
I think PBC had the second biggest offer. But then maybe it's the idea of, hey, I'd be on Fox and I'd be on free TV. And I know some fighters actually want that. If that's weird, I remember Thurman was very big on, hey, I only want to be on free TV. I know the tune's sort of changing a little bit over there at PBC with pay-per-views. But again, I don't know. DAZN has always made the most sense. I don't know why it's just not DAZN. Like, come on.
Yeah, obviously on DAZN, he's behind a paywall as such, but he's not going to be making people pay for fights. It's not pay-per-views like he has been, obviously, with Canelo. If that is a sticking point in some way, that he doesn't want to be in pay-per-views where his fans have got to pay for it, then obviously DAZN as well. It's only, $10 a month or whatever. So anyway, next topic. I think we've done that one.
Yes, we have. Mikey Garcia and Errol Spence doing VADA testing. I'll put it this way. I could care because again, like I don't have a I don't know conventional opinion about PD testing. Like I'm not very high on VADA. Like a lot of boxing media people are, and just fans in general. I think there's some issues with VADA and just PD regulation as a whole right now. But, I mean, salute to them. I know, at least from a PR perspective, Errol Spence has been facing PD accusations for a very long time. The more and more he does VADA, the more and more casual, like that pseudo-casual hardcore fan base will get off his ass. So... it is what it is. I mean, Spence has done VADA with the Kell Brook fight, I want to say. I think he did... Did he do... I want to say he did VADA for another fight, like the Lamont Peterson fight, but I could be wrong. And obviously, the IBF does do USADA testing, but USADA, another testing agency that I haven't had a lot of faith in, to put it lightly. Definitely check out Thomas Hauser's work on that. Check out the Sporting IntegrityInstitute.com. They have tons of reporting on this as well. But yeah, it is what it is. Like, salute. They're doing drug testing. Do I think that's like the end all be all of the issue of PEDs in the sport? Not at all. So it is what it is. Rob, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I always want to know that guys are signed up for it. At least there is that potential of a cheat getting caught, but it's just scratching the surface. It's not really performing any kind of service to clean sport on a regular. I know we had I think Suleiman led it out to I think BBC boxing podcast with Costello and Bunce, but it's roughly I think $2,500 per test. So there's only so much money and so many fights, and you'd think they'd probably concentrate on big fights. I don't know, or is it just the little guy getting caught more? I don't know. It's just they're just scratching the surface, and I don't think they'll ever get a clamp down on this as long as it stays the same as it is. Because,
well, it's like I said, I mentioned that website Sporting Integrity Institute.com. Go check out that website. They just posted, did an article on the UCAD's response to the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, and its sort of falling apart nature right now, the chaos that is WADA at this point. There's just, when you mention money and resources and, what is it really achieving? I mean, but PD regulation as a whole has a blanket program, right? So it's, let's say for the WBC, for example, right? The top 15 fighters are just in the program, right? And there's a blanket program, allegedly, that's how it's supposed to go. And they're supposed to get tested randomly, and it's just blanket. So everyone, over time, is supposed to be tested the same amount of times. So the level of testing, in terms of quality, goes down when that happens. On top of that, because that level of testing goes down, you really only catch, like you said, the small-time offender. The people taking the lazy shit. The people taking the really good shit are always ahead. That's why Lance Armstrong never actually failed a PD test in his life. They caught him on a technicality and in paperwork mainly. Rob?
No, he did actually fail one, but he then got a backdated TUE, therapeutic usage exemption for, it was like cortisone cream.
Yep.
He then, polished over that by donating $100,000 to the UCI for their drug research program or whatever. So
another great story to look into, because it's a boxing one mainly, is the Eric Morales, Danny Garcia story for anyone out there. That's a USADA story, not a VADA story, but there is parallels between how these entities work. USADA basically hid multiple positive tests of clenbuterol for Eric Morales from the commission before, I want to say days before the event. And then I believe 2 months afterward, then gave him a retroactive therapeutic use exemption. So again, this is just, if you want to believe VADA is the white knight to come into the sport, not talking to you, Rob, just talking to listeners now. If you want to believe that, then go for it, man. Believe in the Tooth Fairy, believe in Santa Claus, believe in the Easter Bunny. Go for it. But there's some heavy criticism and concern about VADA, USADA, WADA right now, that a lot of great scientists, a lot of great medical professionals, a lot of great journalists are reporting on that anyone could easily look up. And the entire regulation industry is falling apart due to heavy perceived corruption. But anyways, digress from that. Shout out to Spence and Mikey Garcia for at least doing the PR optical right thing to do, which is, hey, just join this program. They're going to test us 3 times, 4 times, and we're going to be out of here. No big deal.
Very quick. I know Mikey in an interview told that he's still a free agent. He's still in regular contact with like Eddie Hearn and
yes,
and talks like that. You know, he still controls his own, where he fights, who he fights for, and this and that. So people just, I think a lot of people assume that he's blown off DAZN and everyone he's made an offer and that he's fighting Spence, so therefore he's a PBC fighter. But no, he's still, could end up fighting someone on DAZN. He could fight someone on ESPN. He's, just
it's just as simple as this. The best fights for Mike Garcia right now are under the PBC stable, right? Like, that's just as simple as that, mainly, in my opinion. Not that there aren't fights for him at ESPN. Obviously, like a Terrence Crawford's out there. Obviously, a DAZN could have like an Amir Khan. But other than that, I mean, really, the main players at 147, PBC fighters. A lot of the players at 135 are PBC fighters, except for a few obviously notable exceptions. But that's why Mikey is just under this sort of conglomerate, which is PBC. Slapnut saying, first off, great name. Saying, after hearing that USADA is using John Jones as a snitch, I lost all credibility for them. I don't think that is the reason why you should lose credibility for USADA. If they want to use people that are testing positive for PEDs to find their suppliers and distributors, I have no issue with that. And that's sort of allegedly what John Jones did when, I forget the exact wording of it, but when he got the 30-month reduction in his penalty. Yes, you heard that right. 30-month reduction in his penalty when it was supposed to be a 48-month suspension, which I believe is how many years? Is that 4 years? Yes, that's 4 years, right? Yeah. Quick maths right there. But again, I don't think that's the issue why USADA loses credibility for me. It's the inconsistency with that case, for example. Frank Mir tested the exact same substance, turinabol, and featured only long-term metabolites, not the short-term metabolites or the mid-term or medium metabolites. That is their entire argument of USADA as to why John Jones is, in theory, not dirty. Why this is just remnants from a drug he took a long time ago and he got punished for. Is because he only has long-term metabolites. When that was not an excuse that Frank Mir could use when he popped for the same thing, got a 2-year suspension on his first offense. This is now John Jones' technically third offense, though the cocaine test was thrown out because it shouldn't have been tested for out of competition. But for PEDs, this was his second test failure, or at least one that we knew about. He ended up actually popping a lot more, and there's around 4 tests in that time period that he popped for, to be honest. Again, just a very inconsistent entity and regulatory affair. Sporting Icons saying PEDs is probably my weakest subject in boxing. Sporting Icons, look up a scientist, Paul Dimeo. Paul, common spelled Dimeo, Dimeo, on Twitter. He is a scientist and professor at the University of Stirling, I believe in, obviously, Stirling, Scotland, I would assume. Great sort of source of information about PEDs in this sport. Again, Thomas Hauser's own reporting on it, Sporting Icons. Thomas Hauser has done fantastic work there. A little bit pro-VADA, in my opinion, in the slant, but great sources of information that you could grab there if you want. And anyone can look up this information. It's all in the Googles. Moving on, transitioning to a UK topic. So Rob wakes up there because I know he was sleeping. You okay, Rob? I know this PED talk got you tired.
No, I'm sort of quite clued up on it a little bit. Well, maybe not in boxing, but as Fu said in the chat, I know more about cycling than I do about boxing. But the whole Lance Armstrong thing, I was all over it. I mean, if people want to hear more about that, there's a former teammate, Tyler Hamilton, book, The Secret Race, and he really goes into it. And like you said, the real elite guys are on such... They can afford the better shit if they're on. I'm just saying, if they're on it, allegedly, if some of them are on it, they can afford the real good stuff. And in that book, they describe of a test where you can have like a grey dust kind of substance under your fingernail, so when you pierce, it negates, urine tests. And things
there's a lot of ways around PD testing, as we know,
and like they took testosterone, and when that was kind of thing, there was patches, and you could take them off. One time, he said he left a patch on by mistake, and he had to fucking fill out his whereabouts form real quick and change it that he wasn't going to be in town, and just crazy, And if it really got that bad, you just didn't answer the door. So if you don't want to get tested, you don't necessarily have to get tested. So there's so much around it, and they go into that. They're always 2 steps ahead and shit like that. So it's. I know I'm probably getting clowned in the chat.
No. Sporting Icons made another joke that's unrelated to what you said, but it's a really funny joke.
All right.
I'll repeat it because you like it. He said, I think Cale Sutherland is on PEDs. No, he's on banned substances. There's a difference. He's on banned substances, not performance-enhancing drugs.
I think it enhances his performance sometimes.
Depending what performance we're talking about. Anyways... actually, before we head to that topic, I want to go to a caller because Gary's been waiting for like 16 minutes, and I just noticed that Gary's on the line. I feel bad.
I've been waiting all show for this, not 16 minutes.
Yeah, I always love a Gary call. Let's be honest. Gary in Dallas, how you doing? As I click, there you go.
Good, Matt. How
I'm good.
Are you guys?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good. James DeGale versus Chris Eubank Jr. This is what you guys spend your money on in the UK, Rob? I mean, you've got to have something better to do with your $15 and spend it on that. I mean, give it to charity or something. Feed a homeless kid or something. Really? This is what you're giving your money to watch? James DeGale versus Chris Eubank Jr.?
I basically told you that I'm not buying it, and I don't think any will.
That is true. Rob did say he's not buying it.
So my money... It don't need to go to charity. It can stay right at home. Charity begins at home, Gary.
I don't even know how to respond to that. That's true. I mean, I know those two have had like beef and stuff over sparring sessions some years ago. They don't like each other. But is that really a pay-per-view fight over there? I mean, how big a name are those guys?
I mean, we obviously know them both. DeGale, Olympic gold medalist. Eubank Jr. is Eubank Sr.'s son. I want to say he's famous for being the IVO champion, but we won't go there. But no, they're big. They're big names here. But pay-per-view at this stage of like DeGale's career, this. I just see that this is a massive mistake from PBC to make this go pay-per-view straight away. This should have been PBC, welcome to ITV. Here, everybody in the UK. You got, a real grudge match. These guys fucking hate each other. So, let 15 million people watch it for free, or 20. It could do crazy numbers if it was free.
Gary, this would be like Chavez Jr. versus like George Groves right now. Let's be honest.
Yeah, you're being generous to Chris Eubank comparing him to George Groves.
No,
like
Eubank is
Jr.
Chavez.
versus-
Eubank is Chavez in the equation because they're both sons of legends.
Okay. Yeah, right. Okay.
And Groves
right,
is the older, much better fighter than Chavez. That like James DeGale is the older, technically better fighter than Eubank.
Okay. Yeah, DeGale. It would be like Chavez Jr. versus Andre Durrell. Or something like that.
No, that's probably a better comparison. Yes, perfectly. Yes, that's how big it is.
Could you imagine Showtime asking us to pay for that?
Yes. Yes, I can.
You would laugh at them, wouldn't you?
I would, but in today's age, that might be pay-per-view.
I buy everything. Right? I was one of the 50,000 that brought Crawford versus Postol. I would not buy Chavez versus Andre Durrell. That's not going to happen. I buy everything. I wanted to get on the heavyweights too. With again, I don't think all the heavyweights are trash, Matt. I think all the heavyweights except for the top 4 are trash.
That's exactly what I said. I hope you know that. And I was actually generous. I said top 4 or 5, like Gary said.
It's 4 because once we get to Billy and White, we're talking the trash tier.
But Gary, you didn't correct me. You just repeated what I said. That's I said people like Gary think that the top 4, maybe 5 heavyweights in the world are good, and everyone else is trash. That's exactly what I said.
Okay, I misheard you. I thought you said I said all the heavyweights.
No.
Okay. I got like bad news. I can almost guarantee that Wilder or Fury, whoever wins the rematch, and the rematch is going to happen. It'll happen in the first half of this year. Is not going to fight AJ this year. I'll go in like if I've ever been sure of anything, it's that. That fight's not going to happen in 2019. Eddie Hearn has put so much of his money into the heavyweight division, and he's got so many fights that are watchable that he's not going to put AJ in with anyone who's not in the Eddie Hearn stable. It's just not going to happen. He's not going to risk, after investing all this time and money into the heavyweight division, risk losing control of the heavyweight division to Wilder or Fury. It's just not going to happen, right? He's going to fight Dillian White in the first half of the year, and then he'll fight either Usyk or Big David Miller in the second half of the year. So, again, I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news, but Eddie Hearn is a businessman. He's not going to lose control of his baby yet, not without cashing in on all those fights first.
Which baby? Big baby?
His baby being the heavyweight division. Like he's got Dillian White, he's got Chisora, he's got all the other names that he's going to cash in on AJ fighting all those guys before he risks putting them in with someone else.
Despite numerous attempts to make the Wilder fight.
Okay, again, you think that's serious? You think Wilder isn't entertaining Hearn's offer? You think? I mean, just be serious. Wilder begged for that fight 6 months ago.
Gary, I'll jump in because I want to jump in. Yeah, I don't want Rob to have all the fun here. Your exact question was: Do we think that the offers are seriously being entertained by Wilder? No, they aren't, because Wilder, like you said, is going after the Fury rematch. But there are offers being sent. I don't feel like Eddie's lying about that. Do you think Eddie's lying and saying that there are offers being sent when there are 0 offers being sent?
I would not put that past the
but
realm
you
of
do realize
possibility.
Gary, you do realize Shelley Finkel has come out and said, yeah, we have We do have a new offer from them. He said that post the Fury fight. But then they said,
right. Charlie Winkle did.
Yeah, but then they said, but we're going to go after the Fury fight. So your questions is not wrong. I mean, no. I mean, Wilder's not seriously entertaining the offers from Eddie Hearn. Why? Because Wilder does not want to fight AJ right now. Why? Because he has a bigger fight at the moment in front of him, and that's fine. And AJ can go fight Dylan White in a rematch. Wilder probably then, after the Fury rematch, has to fight his mentor in Brazil, which would be the second half of 2019. AJ can fight Big Baby in the U.S., sort of, draw in the U.S. fandom for that matchup, start to build it up, and first half of 2020, they fight. Is that inherently a bad thing for the division?
I mean, it's not a good thing. I mean, look, I don't watch UFC, right? And you can answer this better. If this was UFC, would Wilder, and those are the two best heavyweights, Wilder in the UFC, would they have fought by now?
Probably.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they would have fought twice by now. So, I mean, it's bad for the division against AJ versus Dillian White. It's not as good. It's not good. It's not getting a fight where you already know who's going to win is never as good as getting a fight that we don't know who's going to win. I mean,
no, but again, Gary, your level of good is AJ Wilder. You're saying that's good. Well, if that's just good, then everything below that's going to be trash, of course. But that's not just a good fight. That's a great fight. That's just a potential all-time great fight. So AJ Dylan White, that is a good fight. It is. It's not a great one, but it is a good fight. And you need to figure out you need to fix your rating system there, Gary.
It's a fine fight, and I'll watch it if it was on pay-per-view. I'd pay for it because there's nothing wrong with the fight, right? I said that Dillian White has earned a shot at a heavyweight crown. Yeah, but we already know who's going to win, right? Like I think Ugas and Jamal James have earned a shot to fight for a welterweight title. They're not going to win, but they've earned that shot, right? So Dillian White's earned the shot, but we know he's not going to beat AJ. So it's a fine fight, but we already know who wins, so it doesn't do much for me.
Yeah, but you do realize most fights at the top are like that. Like, right? Like, even the UFC, not every main event is a 50-50 fight.
Yeah, but, I understand, but that fight, like, you said that if this was UFC, Wilder and Fury would have fought each other already.
Yes.
It's like, I don't think that fight's going to happen for another year. It just gets to be...
And how is that bad for the division? Like, walk me through your logic here. Why is it bad?
Like, you have three guys who have some type of claim to the heavyweight championship, right? You have Fury, who's a lineal champion, and you have AJ, who's got 3 other straps, and Wilder's got the other one. So, I mean, you would acknowledge that when there's one king of the heavyweight division, whether it was Lennox Lewis or Mike Tyson or Evander Holyfield, that the heavyweight division is better. That the division is better when there's a clear number one in the division. Would you agree with that? At least the heavyweight division.
That's not necessarily true, Gary. That in the time when the heavyweight division was the best, the heavyweight championship was changing a lot. Ali was losing to Frazier. Frazier was losing to Foreman. Foreman was losing to Ali. Like, that was when the division was the best.
But there was a man in the division. Yes, that man would win and lose, but he would lose to whoever beat him would then be the man. There's not one man in the heavyweight division.
Well,
the heavyweight division
it's also happening right now, though. Like, Fury and Wilder are fighting twice back-to-back, most likely. Like, it is in the midst of happening. Great. And if they have one in-between fight before they jump into AJ, I don't see the issue with that.
No, but it's okay.
You don't think Wilder is deserving of a quote-unquote tune-up / mandatory in Brazil post 2 Fury fights back-to-back?
He's due about it.
I'm not blaming Wilder. I'm just saying it's not going to happen this year. I'm not saying it's Wilder's fault.
I understand that. I understand, Gary. I understand you saying it's not going to happen. But I'm asking, what is the problem with that? We're still getting good fights.
We kind of wanted this fight since 2018, and now we're looking at 2020.
Yes, but we also now have a division with a clear, like, number 3 there now with Fury. That I think is a net positive for the division. Like I can argue probably very well that the division is now better that Wilder didn't fight AJ next and he fought Fury instead, because now we have Fury back in the mix. Like, let's be honest here. Like, the division's better off now than what it was 9 months ago, a year ago.
Okay, again, I'm not knocking. Look, if Wilder's got to fight Brazil next, that's the WBC mandates, then that's what he has to do. I mean, take that up to WBC. You can't put that on Wilder. He wants to keep his belt. That's what he has to do. I'm not blaming him. You know, I don't know. Am I blaming AJ? I'd like to blame Eddie Hearn because I like AJ. Like, this a Wilder fight should have been made. Yes, did we somehow get a win by getting the Fury fight instead? Yeah, it's better now that we got the Wilder Fury fight because we have a three-headed race now. So it did work out, but no one was expecting it. That was like a surprise for all of us. That
of course
Fury
it was
all the way back to where he was.
Of course it was. But I'm talking about right now, today, are we not in a better place than what we were 9 months ago, a year ago for the division? Is it not a more competitive division now?
Because of Fury, you're saying? Yeah, it is.
It's a wrench to the whole thing. It is. It's the monkey wrench. But Gary, look, I definitely understand your point. Don't get me wrong. I just think your I don't know, pinpoint accuracy of criticism towards Eddie Hearn is not necessarily unwarranted, but it's just maybe a little bit not realistic to what the situation is. Like, it's not that Eddie Hearn is the only one that doesn't want to do business. I think both parties are completely aware of, like, the path, the plan. It may not be one that they've talked about, but they definitely know what the plan is, how they're going to marinate this fight. And they've known that arguably from Jump Street, let's be honest. Like, back in 2017, 2016, when this was really starting to take off in this beef, they knew back then this fight wasn't happening till 2019, 2020. Barry Hearn said it a long time ago.
Which, yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm also one of the things in the welterweight division. Keith Thurman, Terrence Crawford, and Errol Spence are also not going to fight each other. None of them are going to fight each other this year. At a certain point, aren't you just driving your fan base away? At least in the heavyweight division, you are getting Wilder and Fury, so that's the fight everyone wants. It's honestly a fight that if you gave me a choice, any fight I could make in the heavyweight division, I want to see that rematch before I see anything else. So,
look, Gary, I 100% probably agree with you at some level that too many tune-up fights drives away the fan base in some way. It does. I absolutely agree with you on that aspect. I'll also say, though, that the promoters are completely unable to fix that problem. Why? Because they owe all these networks way too many dates, way too many events. They have to make all these main events for 50-plus events, for 30-plus events a year. And so they need to stretch out their very few amount of stars that they have. PBC only has a few names that they can really go on and get good to great ratings on Fox and on Showtime. And they can't have them fight 5 times, fight each other 5 times each in order to continually make great fights and to continually feed the beast that is the networks they work for. That is the issue. It's oversaturation. Top Rank owes 54 events for ESPN. PBC owes 40-plus events for Showtime and Fox. Matchroom owes 32 events for DAZN. Like, the list goes on and on. There's too many commitments from promoters, and that's why we get so many bad fights, and that's why the sport and the industry has these paths. Has the Ugas versus Porter, has the AJ versus White 2, has the Dominic Brazil mandatory. It's why we need those fights, unfortunately, because of the networks.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to put this on anyone in particular. I was just saying, like, I don't think you're going to get AJ versus the winner of Wilder Fury. And you're just assuming that it's going to be Wilder because you said Wilder like 3 times.
What do you mean?
I'm guessing you're picking Wilder. I'm guessing you're picking Wilder to beat Fury in the rematch. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Ralph?
Come on. Got to ask that.
No, I think.
Yeah.
I think again, Fury's just got to stay switched on for 12 rounds and dodge that right hand. I think we proved it. Despite 2 knocks down, he still got off the floor and won twice. Off getting off the floor twice. And in my opinion, he beat Wilder. But there's that danger that Wilder can, do it, make him stay down for 11 seconds. So, I would still back Fury because I think he made. I don't know what adjustments that Wilder will make because I don't see that his footwork or certain things I don't feel has improved drastically to counter what I think Wilder definitely missed more than he landed. I think Fury can definitely do it, but there's just always that danger with Wilder in any fight if he just lands that right hand flush.
My thing is that it's gonna be a very hard fight to determine because both guys, and when we've seen them rematch opponents, they've both done better. And that's a big thing for me when we talk about rematches is which fighter historically has done better in rematches, learns from their mistakes, dials it in faster. That's why I kind of lean towards Wilder because his difference from that Stavern rematch is drastic compared to a Tyson Fury with the Chisora rematch. Even though there was a marked improvement in Fury in that rematch with Chisora, it wasn't a 12-round decision to first-round knockout. That change is rather apparent. I don't see Wilder doing that to Fury. I'm going to be honest, but I see him figuring something out.
But was it a more improved Stavern or a much worse Stavern?
I wouldn't say it's much worse. It definitely was a less. It wasn't as good of a version of Stavern that he fought in the first fight. I would definitely agree with that. But
yeah,
it's still a drastic difference. I mean, again, this wasn't like an 8th round knockout. It wasn't like he went rounds. It was, 30, 40, 50 seconds. Stavern was out of there. And Wilder did all the technical things right in that rematch. He closed the distance well, double, triple up the jab. He just did things better in that fight than he did in the first one, where he was just single jabs, a lot of single shots. I think in the Fury fight, or in the Fury rematch, we will see adaptations to Wilder's game plan. Hopefully he looks at the footwork and how to sort of cut off the ring because he wasn't doing that. Simple things that hopefully, his trainers can go and sort of fix, hopefully.
I don't know whether he'll know just going into a rematch how to deal with, Fury's so awkward, all the, his arms are always on the move. He dips his shoulder like he's, the double dip of that shoulder like he was going to pop a jab, then he's not, then he does, and then it's a double jab, then he's arms behind it. I just think he bamboozled Wilder mostly, and he got frustrated, and that's why he was missing so wide, and Fury was ducking under it. I think the only improvement or technical thing he could try and do is get on with an uppercut, because Fury was just sort of ducking under hooks and straight rights and things like that. And if Wilder's got anything about him, he might slip, feint one thing and go with an uppercut, because Fury just like to dip under everything. So he's sort of going to be dipping into an uppercut. But I just don't think, part of me doesn't believe Wilder is willing to almost improve. I think he's really thinking about that right hand, and that's all he's got, and he's relied on it. It's got him this far. I don't see that he's drastic. I think there have been little, improvements here and there, but I don't think there's been drastic. When you want to talk improvement, I'm not, waving the flag again, but I think Dillian Whyte has been a completely different person off the back of the AJ loss. He's just gradually just matured, improved, and become a much better sort of almost all-round fighter. We've seen him lose his rag and throw after the bow and almost be very, almost like Wilder-esque with, big swinging shots. In the Chisora, the first fight, he nearly fell out the ring trying to land the gigantic haymaker that was, a crazy shot. But I think Whyte has shown that improvement, shown he's willing to almost learn the art of boxing. But for me, Wilder doesn't look like, we see pad work, we see training stuff in the gym. His legs are all over the place, off balance, and I don't know. It shouldn't look like that, especially in the gym and training. I don't think. I get it in a fight, you maybe lose a little bit of, forget what you've learned a little bit in the moment, but I don't know. I just don't see improvement.
Gary, I know we've got to over your call.
I agree with most of what Rob said, but this is, and I know he didn't take an L, but Wilder lost, right? They just let him keep his belt. That's a lot to take. When you think that you're unbeatable, I mean, maybe he is going to remotivate himself. Maybe it's going to get through to Wilder that he has to change some things. I was with the Showtime crew. I thought he needed to utilize his left hook and not just rely on his right hand. And he landed one left hook, basically, in the 12th round, and it almost put him out. So I think that is right in a sense that they're like, when I said, like, an Ortiz-Wilder rematch is fine, but Ortiz can't do anything differently. He's just going to lose the same way he lost the first fight. Wilder can do things differently to beat Fury. Will he do that? I don't know. I think Rob has a point too. Wilder is 33 years old. Can you really teach an old dog new tricks at this point in his career? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Because he wasn't.
Well, I would argue, Gary, is that it's not like he's a 33-year-old guy that's been boxing his whole life. He's a guy that started at 20 years old. I think that plays a part in it as well. In the idea of can old dogs learn new tricks. Also, I think people are doing a disservice of the idea of not necessarily adding new wrinkles to the game, but fine-tuning tactics within the game. It's not that Wilder doesn't have a left hook. We've seen him have a left hook. He didn't utilize that left hook. We've seen him use the right hand to the body. He just doesn't utilize it a lot. It's all about utilization. So he has certain tools that he can utilize more. He just didn't in the first fight. And maybe that's due to Fury being a significantly better boxer, significantly better when it comes to footwork than Wilder. Maybe like just because of the opponent that was across the ring from Wilder, it made Wilder look that much more amateurish, to sort of use that word. But Wilder can definitely sort of fine-tune the game plan, the tactics within the fight if he wants, and if he has the drive to, like Rob said, and actually, again, change it up a little bit. Because I think he was close. Like, he was very close in those last 4 rounds to getting Fury out of there. He did make slight adjustments in those championship rounds. It's just that Fury was so good.
I also think Deontay Wilder coming in at maybe 225 pounds, with that, that little bit more weight behind the shot, would Fury have got up? I guess we won't know, but he's talking about coming in at 245. I mean, I don't know if he can carry that kind of weight, and maybe he's going to start doing leg day at the gym, but I don't know. I just think maybe there seems to be some issue with gradual weight loss. Just fight after fight, he's coming in less and less and less. And I've seen rumors as to why that is, but again, that would be
the VADA clean testing program. I'm not gonna, since the VADA clean testing program, he's dropped like 15 pounds. I'm not making any accusations. I'm just making a correlation. That you're the steroid guy. I mean, does 2 + 2 make 4 there, or what do you think about that?
Can you repeat what you said? Sorry, I didn't hear you. I just heard, Matt, you're a steroid guy, and I laughed. Sorry.
Wilder has lost all that weight. He's lost about 15 pounds since the VADA clean testing program was enacted. What is that? What do you make of that? Like that Wilder's weight keeps dropping since the VADA clean testing program was enacted.
I don't put too much stock into it. Because he sort of averaged around 215-ish for a while, it seemed, in his title reign. Maybe, slight peaks at 220, something, the low 220s. But for this fight, I mean, the sort of rumor around was that he got sick before the fight. He got sick like the week before, and he lost some weight. And And plus, I mean, he's a guy that
that was the Ortiz fight. He got sick when he came in at 240.
No. There was rumors of the Fury fight. Trust me. I was there. Trust me.
Okay.
I think, and just from being around Wilder, he's a very skinny guy. He has a very wiry frame. You know, he's all limbs. You know, I don't see that big of an issue. Like, he looks like a natural 215, 220 pounder. That he got maybe a little bit like the flu the week before and lost, 5-6 pounds. I don't put too much stock into it. Gary, not as much maybe as some others. But that's what it is. I mean, people have been saying AJ been juicing forever, and AJ has been tested a ton. But then again, it's how much integrity do you believe these PD regulatory bodies have? That's for everyone else to decide and their own opinion to make.
Right, and it's just look at AJ. Yeah, I'm just one, like in that clip that you played before your show starts when the guy says the whole UFC is on steroids. That's kind of my opinion on all professional athletes.
Yes.
It's just who gets caught, who's dumb enough to get caught, and who's smart enough to cover it up. But yeah, AJ, just from the looks at him, it's like Sammy Sosa. Yeah, that guy looks like the perfect candidate to be busted with steroids.
It's like Errol Spence. It's the reason why people think Errol Spence has been on PEDs forever.
Right. It's just you look at him. I mean, I've never seen a heavyweight. I mean, like, there was some, like, Frank Bruno. I don't know. He had, like, a Hercules build. But, like, AJ is something different. AJ looks like a comic book character. Like, that guy, his physique looks like, in a bodybuilding competition. That guy, those guys usually aren't mobile and agile like AJ is with that kind of build. Again, that doesn't mean
Gary, I'll put it this way: if you have some sort of conspiratorial thought about Wilder with PDs, I think the direction of that criticism should more go about the WBC and the VADA program, and how there's some legit questions about that program because there is zero transparency with them. That I think is where the criticism should lie. Not with Wilder, not with Spence. That's why I've always said it's not with these individual fighters. They're just, at times, victims of a system. And the system is the one that's at fault here most of the time, in my opinion.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, look, I don't have a conspiracy theory that Wilder is on steroids. I kind of think and again, this is just
he came off steroids. He came off steroids.
High school playing high school baseball. I know people did steroids for high school baseball. So to think that they're going to stop with millions of dollars on the line as a career, no. I think most professional athletes, regardless of the sport, are on steroids. It's just maybe being a cynic. It's just if you put a gun to my head to do, I think Wilder or Joshua and most professional athletes at that level are on steroids. Yeah, I do.
Everybody's on steroids. The whole UFC, everybody.
I'm kind of. I don't know who that is, but I'm kind of with him.
That's Nate Diaz, the GOAT.
Who cares?
Hey, shut up. Shut up. Rob's not even going to talk, okay? Gary, is there anything else you want to talk about?
I just have a quick question for Rob. So the Eddie Hearn offer to Wilder. I mean, let's say it's a legitimate offer. Doesn't Eddie Hearn also know that fight's not going to be made now at all because the Fury fight's a bigger fight? Right? Eddie Hearn can make AJ an offer knowing that he's not going to accept it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a legitimate offer in theory, but it's not because you know that Wilder is going to rematch at Fury because that's a bigger fight.
I don't think it's a bigger fight.
Well, what was the question, though? I don't understand what the question was there.
Like, is it a bluff? Like, is it a bluff? Like, what if Wilder told him? Do you think he'd come up with some excuse, like the $50 million, not to take the fight? Like, let's say Wilder said, okay, forget it. I'm not going to fight Fury. I'm going to take Hearn's offer. I'm going to negotiate with Hearn with fighting AJ. You think Eddie Hearn would come off that offer? Like it's a bluff. It's a front. Because he knows how. You understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, no, I get what you mean because of like Wilder's stance, what he said about Eddie. He's not going to do it. It doesn't matter what they offer. So Eddie can send offers and say, look, I've sent this offer. I sent it. They're not taking it. I think that is kind of what the
point is.
Almost the title of the show it has been. He's like, oh, I've tried to make calls. I've sent emails. I've sent this. I've sent numerous calls. Heard nothing back. I mean, I guess maybe they're trying to make the Fury fight. I mean, for me, it would be interesting if Eddie was to come out and say, we've made an offer to Fury. And then see where Fury fancies it. Like I say, they've kind of, Ben Davidson's been saying Wilder should fight AJ next. You know, like not my man, Tyson Fury. So I don't know, but I get what you're saying. Like Eddie can just put in any offer he wants and knows that they're not going to take it or whatever. So, but I would say Eddie should come out and say we've sent an offer to Fury. But I don't think Frank Warren and all that. That's just going to go badly in the press anyway, or on the YouTube channels because Frank Warren, I don't think is just legitimately going to accept any kind of offer instantly from Eddie Hearn. You think this has been a saga? You wait and see if Wilder and Joshua and Fury try to make a fight. Holy shit, that's going to be savage in the press because I don't know if you noticed, but Frank Warren doesn't really like Eddie Hearn too much.
Does Eddie Hearn's mom like Eddie Hearn? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really feel like anyone likes Eddie Hearn, but you don't have to like me.
Coogan likes him.
He's really good at his job.
I'm sure Eddie's mum appreciates what Eddie is doing for the family right now.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. I just figured that, Mrs. Hearn is well taken care of from Papa Hearn. I think Mrs. Hearn is fine shape financially.
Oh, yeah. They got generational wealth. They're good.
Yeah. Barry's just put on a massive, even the fucking World Darts Championship over here, which done very well. So even the darts is making the Hearn family, I'm sure they had a good Christmas.
That's all I got, fellas. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Gary, for the call. As always good debates and good conversation when Gary calls in. Going over to Santiago. Actually, hold on, Santiago. We're going to go through a couple topics and then go to Santiago. I apologize. I do want to get through a couple topics before we wrap up the show because we do have to wrap up in like 20-something minutes. Michael Benson coming out by way of the IBF, saying that, told by the IBF that Josh Warrington won't be able to request an exemption for a unification when they order him to fight his mandatory challenger, Kid Galahad. They say Warrington already requested an exemption to fight Carl Frampton, hence the lack of leniency. I like this fight. I'll be honest. It's a good domestic, dust-up in a way. Kid Galahad's been just doing nothing for so long. I'm ready for him to do something, right? Even though I think he's going to lose this fight, absolutely. Josh Warrington is the fucking champ, okay? I picked him to beat Carl Frampton. Rob didn't. Rob picked Carl. It's okay. I was right. He was wrong. But I'm okay with this matchup completely. I think it's, again, a good domestic dust-up, and I think it's a legitimate world title fight. Kid Galahad's been a perennial top 15 guy in that division for some time. Give him his chance now. It's now or never. I don't think there's going to be a time when he all of a sudden starts being a knockout artist and going on a tear, calling out everyone in the division, becoming a star. So just give him the shot already and have Warrington, mess him up in front of his hometown fans. I'm okay with that.
Did you see the video trying to get in the ring with him after the Frampton fight?
No, I did not.
There's like
a guy. Kid Galahad tried to get in the ring with Warrington, right? Post the Frampton fight?
Yeah.
I did not see that.
Yeah, it's kind of awkward. He was like trying to get in, but there's like one guy sort of saying no. And he kind of sort of hovered between the right. I don't know. It's kind of funny. But Yeah, I like this. I think Galahad's, he got himself that. I think it's mandatory position, so he's gonna Warrington's gonna have to face his mandatory. I think Galahad is massively underrated, but do I pick him in the fight against Warrington? Probably not. I don't think so. I think Warrington's almost a new guy. It's that thing. You win a title and you go on. It just raises you that extra 10, 15, 20% or whatever. I think he's looking to carry on this role that he's been on, and I think I'd definitely pick Warrington in that fight, despite heavily rating Kid Galahad. And I was surprised you liked the fight, Matt, because you usually got. And you don't really like Kid Galahad that much.
I definitely don't like him. It's that I think he sort of just puts on like ho-hum fights. Like he never gets out of second gear. He's one of those guys for me. Like he just goes out there and just sort of puts on the same fight over and over again. There's no sense of urgency ever. And he's a little bit, not basic, but, there's no, I don't know, excitement there with Kid Galahad fights, if I want to be honest. But he's a talented boxer. Like, he's not a bum. Like, he's a top 15 guy easily. He just hasn't done anything to make me go, ooh, Kid Galahad getting the title shot. But, no, he's a respectable opponent, especially after the Lee Selby and Carl Frampton back-to-back fights that Josh Warrington had, where he arguably was Fighter of the Year last year. So Warrington's due sort of a easier touch, and this easy touch is still a, air quote, big domestic fight and a legit, top 15 versus top 3 or 4 guy in the division fight, which I'm always in favor of.
Yeah, I think we might find that Galahad is someone who fights at the level like of his opponent kind of thing. If he's not necessarily up for it, he just does what he has to do to get through it. And like I said before, it's like he has to wear these ridiculously massive gloves. Like, it doesn't look like any glove he lands on someone's going to knock someone out, because they just look like someone strapped 2 big pillows to his hands. But anyway, I just feel he might be someone who needs that big shot, and you see the best of that guy. I think like they brought it out in Warrington to a degree. So yeah, I think it'd be
Rob Brandt. Rob Brandt's another one in a way.
Yeah, I think those guys, maybe that's what they need in the big moment. They show what they're made of, and when they're in the lesser fights on undercards and that, they don't necessarily jump out and make you think, oh wow, So I think it'll be a really good fight, but I would lean Warrington. But yeah, I'll be. Obviously, this is going to maybe end up as a purse bid or something, or if it's mandatory, I don't know, because will we see this Sky Sports or BT Sport battle, or will it just, as Warrington's a champion, I guess, end up on BT? I don't know, but someone with more knowledge on these sort of dealings will.
It could end up going to purse bid technically, though that hasn't been talked about at all from what I've seen. I've never seen a mention of purse bid yet. I just hear, this fight's ordered more so. So there's usually like depending on the fight, whether it's like a mandatory or voluntary, it's either a 30-day window or like a 60-day window, I believe, for when you have to get these fights made. And then they start going into the purse bid sort of arena. But quickly, just run down these last few topics and then going to go to Santiago, who's been waiting for some time. And we do only have 20 minutes left in the show. Guillermo Rigondeaux, his opponent is set, Giovanni Delgado, for a January 13th PBC card on FS1. Good to see Guillermo Rigondeaux back from the sunken place. Rob Brandt, who we were just talking about, in a shit fight against some guy we've never heard from. Let me get the name. Hold on. Kazan Bazanagarov. How do you think that was, Rob? You think that was good?
No idea.
Sure. Who was 17-0 with 7 knockouts. He's 21 years old, from Ukraine. It seems like
Ukraine on a resurge, big influx of Ukrainian undefeated fighters looking sharp. Who knows? But I think, isn't this it? Where's the fight held?
The Grand Casino in Hinckley, Minnesota.
Minnesota. Yeah, I saw. Is it Christina Poncha put Minnesota in February? Thanks. And I think Dan Rayfield put, yeah, I'll be at home for this one with a nice hot cup of cocoa kind of thing. Like, I'm sure it'd be a big cup, but
it's just a bad card, and it's on ESPN. It's on like big ESPN. It's not on ESPN2 or ESPN Plus. It's on ESPN, and that is
his hometown. Just quickly,
what?
That's his hometown, though, right? Minnesota. Is that his hometown, Rob Brandt? I think.
Hometown or home state?
State. Hinckley. I don't know if it's his town or what. Who knows?
I have no idea.
I think it's some kind of homecoming fight.
I would hope so, or it's because it's in a casino. Like they could have got a big site fee. That's why Pro Grace versus Ndongo was in South Dakota. None of those fighters were from South Dakota, but they had a huge 7-figure site fee from some casino out there. Who knows? Who knows? But last topic of the day, then we go to Santiago. Lou Dibella. I actually really like this news. This headline: Lou Dibella working on a star-studded all-female card for the spring. As anyone has known for some period of time, I've always been a big supporter of female boxing and women's MMA. And, of course, for those that maybe don't know, but for those that do, we are starting a female-only centric boxing podcast or combat sports podcast that will feature possibly the return of Monsterpiece from the old TBV days. So, in conjunction with that new boxing podcast that will be starting to roll out most likely next month. The news of Lou Dibella sort of really pushing women's boxing. I think somebody needs to do it. It's clear as day that there aren't enough women fights on these main events, these sort of big tentpole events that we see on TV to sort of foster the industry and really get some deep rankings going, because there aren't the female fights in these events. When we talk about Showtime events, ESPN events, Matchroom events, how many of those fights are really female boxing fights? Very few. I think that's an issue that hopefully more promoters try to remedy. And Lou Dibella taking that step and trying to do that, absolutely support.
Yeah. I might not be on that podcast if it is Monsterpiece because of what I'm about to say, and while I totally agree with what you're saying, isn't that an oxymoron, that headline?
What do you mean?
Like, star-studded female boxing. Who has he got? Who has Lou Dibella got that
Heather
he can promote then?
Heather Hardy. Heather Hardy.
Yeah. Studded suggests more than one.
I would assume he could probably swing in maybe a Baracus. I think he's worked with her in the past. I think he has good relationships with who's her promoter. Is it Soderlin? It might be. But there's definitely women he could get. Lou Dibella is one of those guys that if this is just a sort of his own card, not a like PBC card, he works with everyone. Like he could easily pull in maybe some UK women prospects. Like maybe like Savannah Marshall can come over to New York MSG in the theater, and they'd put on 8 fights and sell out 3,000 or 4,000 tickets. Especially with Heather Hardy on top of that, absolutely. It hasn't. I want to say Lou has worked with Eddie Hearn enough. Yeah. I believe he even co-promoted a Katie Taylor fight at one point.
Well, doesn't he have the Serrano sisters?
I don't know if he has them. I know he works with them.
I think so. And then he's obviously in conjunction with Eddie. Mm-hmm. They've sort of signed network-wise with DAZN. So where this event's gonna maybe land on DAZN because of other deals, who knows? But
absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't want to come. I'm not like hating on it. It's just star-studded women's boxing card. I don't think there's.
Well, again, it's all about redefining the term stardom, right? Like, there's no Canelo female star, of course, but could they get a Serrano sister, Heather Hardy, and then maybe a Baracus, or Katie Taylor, or Shields on top of that? One of those big 3. That's all they need. All they need is one of those big 3, and again, Heather Hardy for the ticket sales in New York or wherever it's at, and one of the Serrano sisters, and it's star-studded in my opinion.
Yeah. I just
relative for women's boxing, it is star-studded, right? Like Heather Hardy. I mean, again, Baracus, Taylor, or Shields, pick one of them, and a Serrano sister, that's a good sort of run of female fights. And then again, prospects. You feature women that are hopefully people that are being inspired by the Taylors and the Shields and the Brackuses that we will now become aware of.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I just felt it was a bit, I don't know, stars, I guess, in women's boxing, but what level of star is that in boxing? I know they need their shine, and I'm right behind it. It'd be great to see an all-women's card, like you said, Savannah Marshall. Obviously, there's the victory over Shields in the amateurs. Could we see
Nicola Adams, obviously. Like, I would love to see her on this sort of card.
She's obviously with Frank Warren, so I don't know if this card.
But I mean, I'll put it this way: obviously, there's some business realities to the situation why all these women can't be on the same card. But for a analog for MMA, there's Invicta Fighting Championships in MMA, which is a female-only promotional company, right? It's streamed through UFC Fight Pass, so they have sort of a quasi-relationship with the UFC as a feeder league for the women's divisions. I think it would be highly, highly intelligent of Lou DiBella, Frank Warren, even Eddie Hearn, people that really don't get along, to somehow, find a WBSS-like, platform. Make one, have Lou DiBella make it, where it's the female version of the World Boxing Super Series, and it constantly feature Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn, Mayweather fighters, whoever it is, right? And make female-only cards. Have 6 a year. Have it be bi-monthly. You don't need that much, but it's massive exposure for the women's divisions, and they need it because they don't get the time slots or even the fight slots on the rest of the cards. Again, you maybe see one women's boxing fight on a big card. Maybe one. In the UK, they do a far better job of it than the US, so I will give them credit. But it's also because the influx of women boxers from the amateur system has been massive over there in the UK, unlike the US. But they're definitely, again, to act like there isn't an industry, not saying you this, but just I know other people are going to take, not what you said, but have that same thought and be a little more critical of it, be more hateful of this, right? I still get people adding me about the Amanda Nunes and Cyborg fight, calling them men and calling them ugly and, all this hateful shit, and it's unfortunate because there are great fights out there. There are great women's fighters out there. And Lou DiBella making that next step to push that as a bigger platform, absolutely love. But we have to move on. So, Rob, last thought on this topic, and we go to Santiago.
No, I was just going to say, ridiculous to bring up looks or attractiveness. Is the person at in you there happy with the sexiness of the male fights? Is there ugly male fighters that he's not happy to watch? I don't know. But shout out to him, who, whatever.
Oh, that would have been. See, Rob, sometimes I wish I had your wit.
Yeah.
And your comebacks, because that would have been great. Like, okay, so now what men are like hot for you, huh? What men look like women in your mind? I want to know this, anyways, digressing. Going to Santiago, our last caller of the day, and then heading over. Santiago, how are you doing?
Doing good, dude. Just here. Chilling at work right now, listening to the show, and I'll be the first to say that definitely reading the little line where Dibella is working on an all-female card. I'm all for it. Just like you, I've been a big fan and supporter of women's boxing, women's MMA. My introduction to women's sport was through Gina Carano when she was fighting on Strikeforce, and I remember seeing her main event versus Chris Cyborg. So that was my introduction to, women in combat sports. And I look forward to it because, like you said, right, if they are able to settle out the business side of the whole thing and get a lot of these good fighters out there, it's not just a who's who of female fighters, but also a who's who of who's supporting them, the promoters, if you can get Eddie Hearn or Frank Warren, Lou DiBella, because I know Rob, he's a big supporter of his UK. And if he were to see one where they feature both Katie Taylor and Nicola Adams, who's to say he wouldn't be like, oh yeah, I'll watch this,
And also just shout out to the UK, because I know I mentioned it, but they are doing a fantastic job with promoting women's boxing over there.
It wasn't about Katie Taylor's a huge star and there's no other stars. It's just there isn't. To me, there isn't that many stars to call it a star-studded thing event. That's all. And are we going to get all those entities? You know, the Shields, the Taylor, the this, the that, all on one card on one network. That to me, that's the difficulty.
Yeah, I'm sure, and I imagine it would be a tall order, but still, it's something to be hopeful for, something to look at, and something to, you know, want, especially for the women. You know, this year was like probably their biggest year. You know, HBO ended with two female fights on their card, you know, sandwiched in with a men's fight, and you know, I can only expect bigger and better things for them too. You know, because like I'm a fan of Katie, I'm a fan of Nicola. You know, I got to see Nicola over at the StubHub when I went to GGG Martirosian, and you know, they're really cool people, very down to earth, very chill, and you know, these are people you can easily get behind too, you know, because at the end of the day, you know, we admire the personalities and we admire the competitiveness of the sport that we love and cherish. And you know, as for the VADA testing, I know I had this conversation with Matt once when I was first helping him out with his podcast too. And yeah, I'm very about how their testing works, just because like it's a mess. You know, it's a mess of what they consider banned, what they consider okay, trace amounts, all these different wordings that they use for some of the fighters, you know. And you know, as far as I'm concerned, as long as there isn't anything that really mars the event that it could be, I just hope to see a really good fight come March 17th, you know, in Mikey Garcia and Errol Spence, you know, because I'm a big Mikey fan, and I don't want to think that Mikey could be taking something, but at the same time too, you know, looking at it just as a sporting event between two fighters, I would probably pick Spence just because he is the physically bigger guy, even though Mikey and him are pretty much on par skill-wise. And as for the whole Wilder and Eddie Hearn and the offers and everything, yeah, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if they're sending it just to send them, just to give themselves that clout of like, oh yeah, you know, we're sending the offers, you know, so like it's not like we're not trying, with the understanding that most likely we are going to see Wilder Fury too, because yeah, you guys are right that when it comes to rematches, it's a lot has to do with who's done better in the rematches, and Wilder seems to have had the better success with it. But I do feel that the one thing I really would want out of Wilder would be to go back and focus on his fundamentals, because in the fundamentals game, it was definitely Fury's game, because he is awkward, he is a big guy, he knows how to move, but he does have a basic foundation to his fighting in the fundamentals. Wilder, for the longest, most of us have always felt that relied on his athleticism and his power, and really there was never much of a fundamental game to him outside of a jab that most of us credit with Mark Breland. So if Wilder can focus on his fundamentals, I feel that it could be a much better fight for him and a much better fight for us as a whole. That's pretty much all I have to say, because I know you guys are on a time crunch. If you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot. Otherwise, that's my call.
Thank you, Santiago, for the call. I do apologize. Show is getting a little bit longer nowadays, obviously, because me and Rob are just here all the time, and we end up talking. Gary, God, Gary can talk forever. Holy shit. Sometime, Gary, I know you're listening right now. We're going to have to cut down some of your calls because they're getting like 15 minutes, 20 minutes long at times. Shit's crazy. But anyways, digressing. Rob, wrap-up thoughts for today's show. I see you over there scurrying about. What are you looking up?
No, I was trying to answer Kay Sideman's question in the chat. I believe it was Jessica McCaskill was the female fighter on the Boston card that he was trying to think of. Yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed the show. Hit that thumbs up, obviously, either on your way in, your way out, or whenever you're listening to this. You know, we're trying to grow, getting there bit by bit. Thank you again to Sporting Icons, who gave us a mention on his community page. Picked up some new subscribers. boosted us up to, I think, where are we? Let me have a quick look on there.
Like almost 820.
Something like that, yeah.
Like 817, something like that. Last time I saw, I think.
Something like that, yeah. So yeah, massive thank you to Sporting Icons, who, you know, I think at some point we'll arrange it, but we're going to jump on a live stream with Sporting Icons, and you know, we can push the shit out of the show over while we're on one with a few more viewers live. But you know, we're getting there bit by bit. Obviously, we had the nice glossy intro this.
That was nice. That was nice, I have to admit.
Yeah, nice bit of video intro, you know, better look for everything. But yeah, Wilder, Joshua, whatever. One day.
That made me so happy. That made me so happy right there, Rob, when you said whatever. Oh, yeah. You've been hanging out with me a lot now, I can tell.
Yeah, but it is. It's growing very tiresome, you know. Wilder, still looking for that pen. We understand. It's all right. And yeah, pay-per-view, Eubank, DeGale, no thank you. I'll find it for free if I'm not doing something, I don't know, walking the dog or something. But no, I actually like the fight, but I'm not paying for it.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, but yeah, follow me at UK Rob, MCR, Instagram and Twitter. Also sort of trying to get the show's Instagram channel going, and I'll try and jump on the Twitter one and get that going. It's just you know, a lot of hard work, always looking for topics and trying to do posts myself and things like that. But so if someone wants to take the reins, social media manager is currently an unpaid position, but a hell of a lot of fun interacting with people and stuff, but trying to sell it. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Catch you on the next one.
Yes. Final thoughts. Obviously, like Rob said it perfectly. AJ Wilder, whatever. Eubank DeGale, I'm not paying for it, but fine fight. And obviously VADA and PD regulation and the shenanigans that all entails. Again, sources out there, go find them. Thomas Hauser. Check out Mookie Alexander's article on Bloody Elbow about Eric Morales' USADA scandal. That's a great piece. Paul Demio of the University of Sterling, fantastic academic to sort of look up and to find his information, his studies about a lot of things that I talk about on the show. But anyways, Matt the Hipster Hunter, Matt Hunter, MCR, all platforms you can find me. And like Rob said, help support the show, patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio. $1 a month gives you extra shows a week. We just started a new weekly Patreon show called Matt and Rob's Boxing Banter. And I gotta admit, that was a really fun show.
90 seconds.
We are releasing a little teaser of it for free. So don't worry. You will, if you're not Patreon yet and you want to see what it's all about, about maybe a couple hours, that will be uploaded for free on the YouTube channel. So if you want to see that teaser, definitely check it out. That was a fun show. Definitely was a fun show. And you want to sort of get a better idea of why me and Rob are here today in these seats instead of other seats and on another channel.
60 seconds.
You get a little bit of an idea about why that is, though not a full idea. But anyways, digressing.
Just quickly, episode 2, you might get the actual.
You might get there. You might. Yeah. It's definitely heading that way. Shout out to Podcast Beefs. But anyways, have a great day. Hit the like button, share the show, subscribe. I always want the smoke. Never forget that. Never forget that. Have a great day. Peace.
To call you stupid would be an insult to stupid people.
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. Chimney. I want smoke.
You understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
I said it last year when I heard you to take part.
10 seconds.
Are you off your tits? Have you been smoking something?